With that being said, what's going on, everybody? If you don't know, now you do know. You're officially tuned in to a very special edition of the HFWB podcast series. And I say this is a very special edition of the HFWB podcast series because we're continuing to grow, we're continuing to expand, and most importantly, we're continuing to evolve. For those who are listening to the HFWB podcast series and aren't familiar with this right now, we basically have just gained a new partnership, a new sponsorship, and it's courtesy of goandfeelgreat.com, the Feel Great system, and overall it's going to be a special treat. And basically, for those who don't know about the Go and Feel Great system, I'll go ahead and run that down for you real quick. It's basically when it comes to health, when it comes to the HFWB podcast series, I'm big on health. When it comes to health, there's usually like a gap between where we are and where we want to be with all the processed foods and modern farming techniques. It can be difficult to find the nutrition-rich foods, and we're always busy living our lives. Our to-do lists are already full. When it comes down to it, the willpower is not enough, and with so many roadblocks getting in the way of our health goals, we need high quality support, and we also need natural products designed to help restore our metabolic health, which is why I decided, of course, to partner up with, of course, goandfeelgreat.com and the company Unicity that, of course, hovers over the Go and Feel Great system. And why not bring on one of the franchise owners and one of the magic men who basically has pretty much turned himself around with this exact system. I kid you not, from being a truck driver who was dealing with obesity, not having the highest level of energy, to now, of course, showing that you can basically change your whole life as far as improving your health and losing weight by basically doing not that much dieting or exercise, although that's always a great thing to achieve the maximum results. But this gentleman who I'm about to bring on, he's basically showing that, hey, try the system. It will improve your health. You'll lose some weight, and at the same time, with little to no dieting or exercise, just in case if that is a little bit too extreme for you. With that being said, if you don't know who I'm talking about by now, I want everybody to welcome Mr. John Hillard to the HFWB podcast series. John, my friend, how's it going?
Hello, Clifton. How are you? I'm doing great. Thank you so much for having me on your podcast today. I'm really happy to be here.
No, of course. No, thank you for just taking time out of your busy schedule just to hop on an episode of the HFWB podcast series. And thank you for just believing in the overall mission of health, fitness, wealth, business, number one, as far as the importance of health, wealth, and knowledge of self, the mind, body, spirit, and all. And most importantly, just believing in the mission of the HFWB podcast series, just continuing to provide information, knowledge, and resources based off of people's experiences, their skills, gift, and talents as they have that they develop and go through within those experiences that make them the individual that they are, to where they can share that to the world. I appreciate that without a doubt. And I'm truly grateful for the health, fitness, wealth, business, Go and Feel Great partnership, sponsorship, without a doubt. But with that being said, John, I want people to really understand who you are as an individual. For those who are currently listening to the HFWB podcast series and wondering, who is John Hillard, the individual, the man, the myth, the legend within his own right? How would you best describe it?
Well, I'm really just like anybody else, just not a celebrity, not any one of these paid spokesmen. That's for sure.
Right,
I'm just a everyday person, just like the person that's listening, and
right,
that found themselves struggling with their weight, looking at themselves in the mirror, figuring that, okay, well, you know, maybe it's just my turn to become like my parents and grandparents that I watched over the years, taking medications, just dealing with whatever life throws at them as far as bad health, being overweight. Some people might be dealing with high blood pressure. That was not what I was dealing with, but my blood pressure was creeping up as a truck driver, which is what I've been doing for the past 20 years.
right,
That is always on the minds of truck drivers, because the food out there is not the best in the world on the road,
right, right.
and the stress levels are extremely high. You know,
Yes.
yeah, a lot of people don't really understand what's happening inside that cab of that 70-foot, 80,000-pound vehicle that's driving next to him. But believe me, there's a lot of stuff going on.
No, I was just going to ask you, John, while you were kind of diving into that exact topic. I know you just mentioned that you've been a truck driver. You've been dealing with that field for the last 20 years or so. Describe like some of like your craziest truck driving stories that you can recall to where it's like, man, I'm never going to forget this moment based on all the stuff that you have seen over the years.
Well, one instance that comes to mind is back in 2022, December of 2022,
Okay.
um, Winter Storm Elliott. A lot of people heard about the winter storm that blew through the northeastern part of the United States. I was actually in Michigan right before it hit,
Oh, wow.
and I just delivered a load and thought that I was, in a safe area where I would stay parked the entire night. But of course, as luck would have it, I was given a load to transport and deliver in Tip City, Ohio, early the next morning, which means I had to drive all night long. Now, from where I was to Tip City should have been no more than about 3 or 4 hours, but thanks to the winter storm, all the ice and snow that just started coming down, and surprisingly, there was a lot of traffic on the road. That took
Wow.
almost an entire 10 hours to make
My
that trip.
goodness.
hmm Yeah,
Well,
and
God,
I'm from
God
Texas.
willing, excuse me, God willing, you made it through that trip safe and sound, and you got the job done delivering that load and everything. And it's like,
hmm
it's just like everything is just kind of just it attests to what you just alluded to, John. I mean, that alone could drive up the stress and the anxiety and just being anxious on the road to where eventually that kind of builds up as far as just raising like the cholesterol, raising the high
hmm
blood pressure to where it's like it feeds into all the things as far as like your overall journey, the obesity and everything. And it's just like, where do you feel like within that overall journey, where do you feel like where was like the breaking points where it's like, okay, I need to turn this thing around before it gets any worse than it possibly already is? And at the same time, what led to you discovering this wonderful company of Unicity and the Go and Feel Great system?
Well, like a lot of people during COVID, I gained a lot of weight. You know, I was fortunate to be considered an essential employee, so
Mm-hmm.
I could continue working, isolated inside of a truck. Definitely didn't have to worry about who I was around that much as everybody else did. But still, a lot of the restaurants were closed, stores were running out of supplies. A lot of stores were closed as well, all due to COVID. So that not only raised the stress levels, but when it comes to nutrition, I mean, and this happens even just doing a normal everyday life of a truck driver. Sometimes you just got to get whatever's available.
Yeah.
It's just like that sometimes. And even
Yeah.
for people that aren't truck drivers, maybe they experience that themselves from time to time. You just got to get whatever's available. Well, I was I got to a point where I had reached 373.6 pounds. I've never in my life been that heavy.
Right.
And I tried numerous things in the past, some things that worked that no longer were working. For example, the Atkins diet back in the 90s. I had a lot of success with the Atkins diet. I also was not a truck driver. I was in an occupation when that kept me very, very active. So that along with the diet, I ended up losing about 70 pounds. And that weight came back with a vengeance. On the road, I actually had success counting calories. And I lost a good amount of weight, maybe 50, 50, 60 pounds like that. But like what happened a lot of times, weight came back.
Mm-hmm.
That weight came back. And when I tried it a second time, the motivation just was, I mean, I was motivated, but not as much as I was the first time. I was a lot more fatigued than I was the first time. I mean, I was older. And like I said earlier, I found myself looking at the mirror saying, maybe it's just because I'm older. I can't find the time to get outside the truck and do some laps around the parking lot. The food
Mm-hmm.
that I was coming across was not, always the best choices in the world.
Mm-hmm.
And so as I was trying to count calories, and I was keeping spreadsheets, very, very, detailed spreadsheets. Even if I cheated on a meal, I wrote it down. I didn't lie to myself. But
You held yourself accountable and you kept track of
yes,
every little detail to make
yes.
sure you achieve those results.
And
Gotcha.
despite what I was getting on paper,
Right.
you know, actual results were definitely varying. I always tell people there's three problems with counting calories. One, you don't know if the measurements listed on a box are accurate. Maybe they are, maybe they aren't. Let's just say that they are.
True.
Two, the measurements that we get on our devices.
Right.
Some people carry a Fitbit. I have an Apple Watch. You might have whatever that measures how many calories you're burning. Is that
Mhm.
accurate? Maybe it is, maybe it isn't. Let's just say that it is. But the third and most crucial variable is the measurements that we're making ourselves. You know,
Mm.
are we actually measuring out the right number of ounces, the right number of grams? Are we really doing it correctly? Enough to be able to maintain that 500 calorie deficit. You maintain a 500 calorie deficit for 7 days, you're supposed to lose 1 pound in a week. You know, but despite my best efforts, even though I was losing 1 to 2 pounds per week on paper, that was not happening in real life. So something was wrong. Something was wrong. And I'm a somewhat of a proud person. Um, I had success with Atkins in the past. I had success with calorie counting in the past. So I've convinced myself I can do this without any help whatsoever.
Right.
But nothing was working this time. So I
Mm.
finally, broke down, went against, I had to swallow pride and went to the trucking company because they had an exercise program that had been, that was helping out a lot of drivers. But for some strange reason, when I registered for it, my registration did not go through. You've seen those computer um, computer-based training things where they like keep a progress meter as you
Right.
go through modules. I went through
Yep.
every module, 100% of the modules, but for some strange reason, that progress meter never went past 3%. So as the
Huh.
group got started, I ended up, getting left at the dock and
Wow.
was not getting the updates, what to do next, and I got none of that. And despite my emails, despite my calls, you know, I was really on my own.
Yeah, it's like going through all those obstacles over and over and over again, John. It kind of describes a little bit of discouragement to where it's like, I keep on trying one thing, it doesn't work. I keep on trying the next thing, that's not working. And it's like you feel like you've went through every single option, and it's to the
Yes.
point where you're looking up at the sky thinking, what more do I need to do? But at the same time, it's kind of like you have to make that transition within that mentality as far as like instead of saying like why me or anything, kind of transition to at the time to like what now, and then
Hmm.
hey, why not me? Because again, as we all have heard this cliche saying, everything happens for a reason. So that reason being maybe it wasn't meant for you to do that exact program within the exercise program that the truck drivers were being offered, because it led to you taking on a different path as far as something that hasn't been necessarily done too much, but it's known about, but it's just not talked about enough as far as just the overall go and feel great system, the
Hmm.
overall Unicity company and everything. I remember when you first called me about this and we were talking about all this, I had to look into this myself because it was like, I've never heard of that. And after doing some research, I realized, of course, the importance and the significance of these products and the impact that it could potentially make just in the community of Corpus Christi, Texas, as well, because we've talked about this, John, as far as just us being within the top 200 still, as far as like fattest cities and all
Hmm.
these things. It's like, for those who are listening to the HFWB podcast series, as far as where I'm getting at here with this as we transition, kind of talk about like the significance of the Go and Feel Great system and the company Unicity. For those who are wondering, what is Unicity? What is the Go and Feel Great system? And what kind of products are available within this exact system for those
Okay.
listening?
Yes. Well, I found myself in the truck, scrolling through social media and came across these people talking about the field grade system. And just
Right.
like you just said, I started wondering what it is. They started talking about something called insulin resistance, which I had never ever heard of. Never
Me
heard of
either.
insulin resistance.
And so we had
And
that conversation, right?
yeah, and most people don't. Just so happens Unicity has found products that actually have been proven. They've been studied by universities and clinics and have been totally proven to reverse insulin resistance. And because of the science and the research that they've done, they can actually make the claim that if you reverse insulin resistance, that you can get rid of most health problems because
Mm,
there's so many health problems that stem from insulin resistance. But when we go to the doctors and the pharmacists, the medications that they prescribe to us seem to just mask the symptoms or keep our conditions from getting any worse, but they do not treat the root causes. So these products called the Feel Great system that I ran across, two products called Unimate and Balance. The Unimate is an extract from the yerba mate plant, and yerba mate was not allowed in the country really until right around the beginning of COVID, sometime around 2020.
mm,
Um, and what it is a plant that grows in South America, around Argentina, Uruguay, Paraguay, parts of Brazil, and down there is known as La Bebida de los Dioses. And that's Spanish for the drink of the gods. It has
mm.
just about every vitamin and mineral in it needed to sustain life.
Right.
And this stuff is potent. Anybody that keeps up with World Cup soccer might have noticed that Argentina won the World Cup.
Yes, they did.
Yes, and they brought 1,100 pounds of yerba mate to the games with them. And if you talk to
Mm,
the players, they will say, and there's articles written about this, they credit the yerba mate to giving them the energy to go up against some of the top teams in the world and even beat France,
yeah.
um, in the world and win the World Cup. And
Mm-hmm.
that's what yerba mate does. It not only suppresses your hunger, but it gives you energy, it boosts your stamina and your endurance. And when Unicity, they source everything directly from the farmers and they run it through a process of fire roasting, extraction, purification, concentration. And what it ends up making is an extract, an all natural extract that is 375 times more potent than any standard yerba mate drink that you will find in the stores.
Mm-hmm.
So this stuff is the real deal. And the reason why Unicity makes that as part of the Feel Great system is because intermittent fasting has already been proven to be very, very effective with reducing
Right.
inflammation, with lowering your glucose levels, your insulin
Mm-hmm.
levels. Okay,
Yep.
basically everything that you need to do to combat insulin resistance.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, but typically fasting is hard. That's one of the things that I tried, before on my weight loss journey. 1, 2 days, maybe 3 days in, and my stomach was ready to wage war.
Yeah.
you know,
I don't know how people can do intermittent fasting. When now that you mention it, John, the longest I probably could say I've gone without eating food probably 12 hours, and I feel like after 12 hours,
and
my
you read,
stomach is ready to rage war, and I'm ready to
yes.
tear up my whole kitchen off.
Exactly. And that's bad because, not only is fasting important, but how you break your fast is also important. The
Yeah.
way I was breaking my fast, I was trying to make up for missed meals. That's not the way to
Hmm.
do it.
Yeah.
There are some people, a lot of people that are able to, actually get over that hump and make intermittent fasting a way of life. But, and I applaud those people. But, for me and others like me, I, I'm glad to have the supplementation because Unimate, it makes intermittent fasting a no-brainer. It is so easy. It's a walk in the park. And that's all that I do. I get up in the morning, I drink my Unimate, and I have no need for breakfast. As a matter of fact, I'll share this with you. Did you know that one that I'll call it a rule or a law that we've been hearing all of our lives about breakfast being the most important meal of the day?
Hmm.
Did you know that was a marketing campaign? It is. There's a
That doesn't surprise me, honestly, John. That does sound like something you would hear like in a commercial. You want to know why you need to eat your breakfast? Because it's the most
most
important
important
meal of the
meal of the
day.
day.
That just sounds like something you would hear in a commercial, so that
Yes.
makes sense.
Look up a man by the name of Edward Bernays. He was a master propagandist. Okay. Back in the day, and you can look up beach photos of people from like the 50s and the 60s, you won't see not any fat people at all in these
Yeah.
black and white photos. Okay. Well, a lot of the food manufacturers went to Edward Bernays because he was so masterful at his craft. And they said, hey, we're trying to, sell more products, get people to eat more food like in the morning time, because people would typically get up, go do what they do, and didn't have anything to eat until they got hungry. I mean, that's the way humans have done it since the beginning of time. We were hunter gatherers.
Yep.
Okay. So Edward Bernays got busy, and he didn't just go to the people, he went to the doctors. He, with all of this, supposed evidence that he put together, and convinced the medical professionals that breakfast is the most important meal of the day. And because they believed him, they told it to their patients, word got out, and we still repeat that to this very day.
And what makes this so funny, John, is that I'm one of those people who are guilty of telling people that to this very moment. I've even told a couple of my own personal training clients, hey, make sure you eat your breakfast because it is the most important meal of the day. As they
Don't beat
say.
yourself up. You've been
Oh
sucking
my
into
God. That's crazy.
It was a marketing campaign, and
You gotta love effective marketing. I will say that. I mean, it had me fooled and it had me sold, and a whole lot of people across the world sold.
Yeah, don't beat yourself up. Don't beat yourself up. You're not alone. You're
Don't be
definitely not
fooled by
alone.
those who are listening to the HFWB podcast series. We just got a myth debunked. Breakfast is not necessarily the most important meal of the day, but at the same time, it doesn't hurt to have something in your system to, of course, suppress the hunger that seems to, of course, become active in the morning without a doubt. We're not saying not to eat anything, but at least put something to help suppress the hunger, something nutrition value, of course.
Well, the Unimate, like I said earlier, it does have every vitamin and mineral needed to sustain life.
Exactly.
So I mean, if you drink that, you're getting replenished with everything that you need to go out and do what you do. And I mean, think about it. Here's how our digestive system works. Okay, when we eat anything, our body turns that into glucose. Now it's gonna I mean, proteins, fibers, and carbohydrates, the three main macronutrients, are going to affect our bodies at different levels. Carbohydrates are going to affect those glucose levels the most. Okay, so when we wake up, first thing we do is go to the kitchen and start feeding our faces with what? Toast, jam, jelly. Now we throw in the protein with the bacon and eggs. That's fine and everything, but the orange juice, even go look at the label of orange juice or a smoothie and see how much fiber is in it. Want to know the answer? It's zero fiber. It's sugar water.
Yeah.
I looked at even some oranges with pulp. I looked at the label. It says not a significant source of fiber. Not a significant source of fiber. So we're basically drinking the fructose along with water. And all that's doing is spiking our glucose levels. And we think we're being healthy.
Yeah.
And then we wonder why we're sick, because our glucose levels are so high. So when we sleep, we've always heard everybody say you lose weight in your sleep. There's some truth to that, because that's when your glucose levels and your insulin levels start to come down. Okay. Well, when we wake up after about 8 hours, if we're getting 8 hours of sleep, unfortunately, that's not long enough for our glucose levels to drop to a point where our body says, okay, we need to switch to a new fuel source. Okay. So we go feed our faces and immediately respike our glucose levels, and our pancreas starts secreting insulin to take that glucose into our cells. Okay. But when those cells become full, because we haven't burned any of it off, they start rejecting that new glucose. Hence the term insulin resistance. The cells, our bodies become resistant to the insulin. So when you take the Unimate, like I said, it makes fasting easy. It suppresses your hunger and gives you a lot of energy. So you're going to go out and and do whatever it is you do in the morning. You're going to get up. You're going to take a shower. You're going to brush your teeth. Comb your hair. You're going to get your things together. Get dressed. Go to work. You're going to fight against the traffic. Get to work. Fight with your boss. Fight with your coworkers. Fight with the phone. Fight with the computer. Do all this stuff, and your body's going to say, "Hey, we have not been fed yet." And we're expelling all this energy. Where are we going to get it from? Well, we need to start secreting a different hormone called glucagon. That's going to go into our fatty liver. It's going to go into that subcutaneous fat hanging beneath our arms, that visceral fat that's choking off our organs. We're going to start burning that, turning that back into sugar, and getting that back into the bloodstream, so we can keep up with the schedule that this guy's trying to make us do.
I love it.
That's the benefit from intermittent fasting.
Yep. Yes, indeed. And this is something that we definitely need to pass on to the people a lot more, as far as combining the Go and Feel Great system along with all the products, as far as the Unimate and the balance and everything. That way we can continue to get results from these natural products that are basically designed to combat insulin resistance, which is basically the main thing that's causing the diabetes, the obesity, the high blood pressure, and the cholesterol levels being higher than normal. So for anyone who's listening to the HFWB podcast series, and if you know someone, or maybe yourself, or you know someone who has diabetes, obesity, high blood pressure, or high levels of cholesterol, just know that it's insulin resistance, and that once you get rid of that insulin resistance, you'll basically take care of all these pre-existing health conditions and health problems that doctors and nurses can't get enough of stressing about, without a doubt. Is there a particular person that comes to mind, John, regarding like someone you've introduced to this system to where they saw the same level of results that you've seen within this system, to where it basically solidified your basically reasoning for not only being a part of the system as far as taking it yourself, but being able to pass the message along?
Wow, a good number of people come to mind, and I often think about it. Where would these people be had I been skeptical about this system?
Mm-hmm.
My mother, for example, was dealing with high blood pressure and diabetes.
Right.
At 77 years old. Okay. She just had neck surgery and she was on so many medications. I found the Feel Great system and I told her about it. And she said, I don't want to be on anything else. I'm already taking too many medications. But I was, persistent. I was persistent. I said, but, Mom, look at all this energy that it's giving me, and of course she took advantage of that. This is like one side effect that I tell people of the Feel Great system. Your parents might put you to work.
That's so funny.
She said, "Oh, you got all this energy now, huh? Okay, well, you see that vacuum cleaner over there? Go get busy.
We're gonna use that energy.
Yeah, we're gonna use that energy." Mm-hmm. But I remained persistent, even despite her efforts to shut me up.
Right.
Well, I finally went out, and she said, "Okay, I'll take it." I said, "At least try the Unimate." So she said, "Okay, I'll try it, before I go to therapy." I said, "Perfect." So she had therapy, and I called her up that night. And I said, "So did you go to therapy today?" She said, "Yes." I said, "Did you take the Unimate?" She said, "Yes, I did." I said, "So what do you think?" She said that was the easiest therapy session that she's ever had. Easiest therapy session because she had so much energy.
Mm-hmm.
So with that, she not only started taking the Unimate, she started taking the balance as well. The balance is what surrounds your food, slows down your digestion, feeds your good gut bacteria, and basically keeps you from overeating, keeps you from snacking, knocks down your cravings, and it's all the fiber that we're supposed to be getting, but because the food's been modified so much, we're no longer getting it.
Right.
So fast forward to today. She is down 50 pounds. Her blood pressure is pretty much normal. And her A1C is at a 5.6. Whereas it was at a 7. She is no longer diabetic. No longer diabetic. And there's many stories like that. And I love hearing them. People will call me up saying, "John, thank you so much for introducing me to the Feel Great system." They will call me in tears because they've been on metformin or some other medication, insulin, for months or years. And their A1C has never come down or dropped to a level where has stabilized, but still considered, diabetic.
Mm-hmm.
And this one lady from Pennsylvania called me. Her A1C finally came down to below 7. It's in the 6-point range, and she was so happy, so happy.
I love it. I love all of these success stories that we're already hearing about the Go and Feel Great system and everything. And it's like, For those listening to the HFWB podcast series and are wondering how you can get you some of this Unicity Urimate, or aka this Yerbamate that John was alluding to, and of course the Unicity Balance as well, you basically can go to goandfeelgreat.com. That is goandfeelgreat.com, because if you haven't figured it out by now, but what myself and John have been saying, it's a feel great system that you can basically trust them for the long haul. I mean, look at the results it brought to John's own mom. I mean, that's a success story within itself. That should be like a poster child for this overall system within itself. And one day at a time, one step at a time, we're going to continue to make people basically feel great by having them go out and get it for themselves within
It's
their
called the
own
Feel
right.
Great System for a reason. You really do end up feeling great.
Exactly. That's why the HFWB podcast series is now being brought to you by the Go and Feel Great system, because we're going to go and feel great along with John and all these other success stories behind it, basically with the Urbamate and the balance. I mean, two things. I mean, you can't go wrong with that. That's for sure. So overall, John, we're actually at the point of the podcast where I'll basically ask you a list of questions as far as who I ask everybody who comes onto the podcast. That way that people can get to know you a little bit more, and at the same time, we can pick your brain a little bit.
Okay.
First question is simple, John. What's the first thing you do or think of every single day that you wake up?
Who can I help next?
I love that. I love that. Always extending that helping hand, which is something that we need a lot more of in this world, because it's showing that you're selfless versus being selfish, which is a major key for those who are listening to the podcast, without a doubt. And you could attest to this as well, John, as far as this next question I'm about to ask. I mean, obviously, we both know health is wealth. You can't, they're one and the same. It's like both sides of the coin. In your own personal definition, John, what does health and wealth mean to you?
Well, I say this a lot in my presentation. As life throws everything at us that it throws, I mean, everybody that's listening, look at your own schedules. Has it gotten to the point where your health has started to really affect your performance? And while you're thinking about that, ask yourself the question: if you had all the time and all the money in the world, could you enjoy it if you did not have your health?
That's my point exactly. That is my point exactly. I mean, I say this all the time, and it's like, and the reason why I actually started saying this, and this is kind of a little bit of an exclusive for those who know me very, very well. I'm a very, very big fan of the rapper Kendrick Lamar, and he said this one particular line that stuck with me to this very day. We're so worried about our career. Do you ever stop and think about your health? Mm-hmm. And at the time, it didn't hit me. But every time I listen to that particular song and he says that line in there, I'm like, yeah, it has more meaning to it based off of everything that I'm kind of doing. So it's like, if you're not thinking about your health first and foremost, you can forget about your career. You can forget about all of that, the money, the resources, everything. Make time out of your day to take care of yourself. Dedicate the first hour towards just self-care alone, whether it's praying, journaling, affirmations, visualizations, exercise if you have time. 30 minutes is all you need. Meditate. Implement some sort of self-care routine. That way you can generate generational health. That's pretty much my overall message within that. But overall, when you think of the word community, John, what comes to mind when it comes to community?
Well, anybody that knows me knows that I mean, first of all, I love to travel. I guess it's no secret that I became a truck driver. But there's something about not only visiting certain places, but meeting different people from those places. Mm-hmm. I speak 3 languages. I go to France and I meet them. I go to Spanish speaking countries, and I'm able to meet them. And just, when I think about community, it's like everyone has their own story, their own experiences, and getting to know that person just opens you up to a new set of circumstances, a new set of experiences. Everybody's got their own story.
Right.
So I mean, I think of all of that when I think of community. Like I said, when I wake up, I think of, who can I help next? How can I serve the community? Who in the community could use this? You um, and it's just that sense of not being that single ship in the middle of a big ocean, but
Hmm.
more like an armada, a community, a whole bunch of people, each with their own stories, each with their own strengths and weaknesses, and it's like, oh man, you know that
It's
that
a perfect balance of
it
just
is.
multiple different characters and multiple just different, like you just alluded to, John, experiences, stories, and it's just like a perfect mix and perfect blend. Because the world would be really, really strange if we had one person, one character, one personality. It's kind of like, I mean, I know this goes against everything that we've been talking about, but it's kind of like it's like going to an ice cream shop and the only flavor they have is like vanilla or chocolate or strawberry. Like people like variety. People
Let
like
me
options and choices. Why the rich like being rich, because they like to have more options.
right. Let me bring that a little bit back into what we're talking about, because here's another
Yeah.
story that I tell. The balance. Unlike other products that are only one source of fiber, cedar musk, balance has several different types of soluble and insoluble fibers in it. And what I
Right.
tell people is, I say, imagine a Thanksgiving dinner, and you walk in to grandma's house or wherever you have Thanksgiving, and the only thing on the table is green bean casserole,
Hmm.
and that's it. That's what it's like when you're taking some of these other store-bought, products. I'm not going to mention any names, but when you have a balance, it's like having the entire spread. You know, because you're going to feed all those different types of fiber, and all fibers aren't the same. It's going to
Uh-huh.
arrive in your gut, and your gut bacteria is just going to have a field day. Say, oh wow, here comes the turkey, here comes the dressing, here comes the green bean casserole. Here comes the
Right.
sweet potato
Right.
pie. Here comes
Uh-huh.
all of that,
Yeah.
everything. Here comes the pecan pie. So yeah, that's what it's like when you have balance. For your gut bacteria.
I love it. I love it. As we make a transition now, John, we're going into a segment I like to call either or, where I'll basically ask which one you would choose out of the two options without a doubt. First one is this: would you rather have loyalty or respect?
Loyalty, loyalty. Mm,
Got you. Got you. Would you rather live in space or live in the ocean?
mm. I've always loved the water. I've always loved the water, so I guess the ocean.
Would you rather have unlimited meals at your favorite restaurants, or would you rather have unlimited first class tickets?
That's an interesting one. Because I have the feel great system. I can have unlimited restaurants, and it's not going to affect me. Like, I'm on, I'm on the feel great system. So why not? Why not the
Exactly,
restaurant? Right.
exactly. Right,
hmm
right. Without a doubt. Would you rather be famous and poor or anonymous and rich, John?
I guess I'd rather be anonymous and rich. And it's funny that you would ask that question. I've worked with a lot of famous people, and it's one thing that I've learned very, very quickly. You do get famous before you get rich. You do, and you might not get rich, but you'll be famous.
That is very, very true. And
It is true.
that's probably one of the realest statements I think I've heard on the HFWB podcast series thus far, because that is very, very true. You do build up the fame before you actually get the money and everything. And
hmm
where people mess up at, they get lost in the fame process before they can actually get to the big prize, and then they basically fumble that big prize within
Right, and I've seen it happen.
fame.
I've seen it happen.
That's a very, very good point,
hmm
actually. Now that I think about it, a really good, interesting point. Would you rather sing to every song, John, or dance to every song?
Hmm. Not really the best at either.
If you had to pick one,
I have
John,
to pick
what would
one.
it be?
I guess sing. I guess sing. I mean, I'm a musician, so I
Right.
mean, singing, is creating the music. for people to
Yes,
dance to. And so that's when you look at it, it's another way of service.
it is.
When you're creating the music, what would you dance to if there were not, musicians like myself to create that music? So that's what I would rather do.
I love that breakdown without a doubt. Now, picture this scenario, John. You're on an island, right? You're trapped on this island, but you have the option to listen to five of your favorite music artists. It doesn't matter what genre it is, John, it could be their whole catalog of music. Who would those five artists be?
Hmm. Hmm. Definitely Prince would be in that mix.
Mm,
Um, let's see, Prince, Michael Jackson.
mm.
Let's see here. Oh wow,
That's not bad. Prince and Michael Jackson. That's not a
Oscar
bad.
Oscar Peterson. Oscar Peterson,
Okay.
jazz pianist. Yeah. Um, and let's see, Slide Hampton, jazz trombonist, and I would have to be in that mix too. Not trying to be braggadocious, but I would just love the opportunity to be able to play with those cats.
Hey, there's nothing wrong with that. It's just visualizing the moment within itself. And
Hmm.
that just goes to show you the level of confidence that you have within your own skills, gifts, and talents. There's nothing wrong with that, Michael, because nobody's going to be confident in yourself but yourself. And then that's when everything else falls into place without a doubt. Now, what is your favorite go to meal?
Favorite go-to meal? Wow. Okay.
Like your favorite dish, your favorite meal. It could be anything, breakfast, lunch, dinner related, like your favorite meal. Say for instance on a cheat day, so to speak. Because we all have cheat days
I have
without
cheat
a doubt,
days.
John.
Right. Oh wow.
If one
I
dish.
was I recently came across a recipe. My wife is from France. Okay.
Right, right.
And I was trying to give her a taste of home. So I had found a recipe for this French dish called poulet chasseur,
Hmm.
and it's a combination of chicken breast with tomatoes, white wine, mushrooms, and a whole bunch of other stuff. And I figured out how to make it, and she loved it. She said it
Hmm.
tasted very, very authentic. And you know, could I say that that's my favorite? Let me just say I'm anxious to make it again because it was good. It was good. That, and anything with a pecan pie attached to it. I'm a sucker for pecan pie. You want to get on my good side? Bring me a pecan pie. You will have a friend for life.
Hey, there you go. There you go. You alluded to this earlier, John, as far as your love, as far as traveling to different places and everything based on your experiences as a truck driver. And of course, just traveling all across the world with just the Go and Feel Great system and everything. What is the favorite place that you have traveled to thus far? And where's a place that you haven't traveled to yet, John, that you would like to travel to?
Okay. I love Paris. I do. I love going to France. Um,
Without a doubt.
yeah, yeah. I mean that was an easy one. I've been to France 10 times.
Wow.
Yeah. Um, but someplace that I would love to go to. I've been trying to get to Alaska for the longest
Okay.
because seeing those aurora borealis is on my bucket list.
And
I've
I
driven to
have a
all.
feeling, John, which as much as you're on the move and as your love for traveling continues to grow every day, you'll get to that bucket list item of yours. I just have a good feeling about that.
Hmm.
Now, speaking of that, John, you're constantly busy. You're constantly moving and grooving all over the place. But whenever you have a time to sit down, relax, so to speak, what are some of your favorite hobbies that you like to do that many people may not know you like to do?
Well, everybody knows that I like to play music. I'm a pianist. Um, but something that people don't know, meditate. Meditate.
Mm.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. I know everybody doesn't believe the same, but for those of us that are Christians, there's a part of the Bible where it talks about going into your closet, whatever, because the Lord will bless what you do that's not seen, something along that line.
Right.
And so, I find time where I can be alone when it's quiet. A lot of times it's very, very early in the morning before the sun comes up, and I'm just alone, meditating.
I love that, John, and I love how you brought up the importance of just finding time just to meditate, because that's something that I practice religiously on an everyday basis. It's like I always meditate every single morning within the first couple of hours of me being up. And at the same time, I always try to meditate every night as well. And sometimes it doesn't happen, but as long as I do it in the morning, I'm good. But it just gets to the point, John, where it's like when you used to meditating on a daily basis, when you go a day or two without meditating, you
Hmm.
just don't feel right until
Right.
you meditate again. And that's just like with everything, as far as, from a healing perspective. But I love that. I
There's
really
a
do.
there's a book by Napoleon Hill. I don't know if you've ever read this.
Oh, Think and Grow Rich. That's
You
one of
can
my
grow rich.
favorite books.
Yeah.
I was actually reading that book earlier this morning while I was when I was on the hydro massage bed at the gym
Hmm.
earlier. That's crazy how you bring up that book in particular. If that's actually one of the 10 books that I would recommend people read is Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill. That alone just blows my mind every time I
Hmm.
do read it. I'm currently reading it again for my third time because of how much
Excellent,
I love that book. It's like
excellent book.
really is. And we
But
definitely
he
recommend you
talks
read it
about
as well.
he talks a
Napoleon
little bit about meditation in there.
Yeah, Napoleon Hill, Think and Grow Rich, y'all. Y'all definitely go get that book for those listening to the podcast and who haven't heard of that book. Without a doubt, it will change your perspective on so many things.
Hmm.
But overall, John, here's my last question for you as we wrap everything up. If you have the opportunity, right, to go back into time and talk to yourself, say 10 years ago, what would you tell yourself? And at the same time, based on your current journey, your current path you're on, John, where do you see yourself in the next 10 years?
What I would tell myself 10 years ago, wow, I would have told myself, look into this company Unicity a lot sooner. Find out about insulin resistance. I mean, I never, never heard of it. Like I said earlier,
Right, right.
um, but wow, where I see myself 10 years from now,
Mm-hmm.
I imagine, doing nothing but helping people with the field grade system. I mean, I've only been, going field grade has only existed for barely 2 years. You
Mm.
know, I started the field grade system in April of 2022. I started going fieldgrade.com in July because there is a business opportunity associated with it that I definitely wanted into because nobody's heard of this. Um, so I envision myself um, doing nothing but that. Again, I love getting the stories from the people that the system is helping. One of my favorite stories is from the 60-year-old man who is, I'm sure this is a G-rated show. Let's just say he's making his wife happy again.
Mm-hmm. I
Hmm.
got you. I got you. That's a great way to end it. And for everybody who wants to know how they can get access to the Feel Great system, how they can get access to the Unimate, the Yerbamate, the balance and everything, kind of give them like a source on where they can go to as far as like a website. How can they get in touch with yourself? How can they, of course, get in tune with the program, John? Let them
Yes,
know.
indeed. Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. You can always find me at goandfeelgreat.com. There is a contact me link there. The message comes directly to me. There's also a phone number on the website where you can call me with ask for more information. But even even from yourself, the Feel Great system is available. You can always
Yes.
get with Mr. Pope here, and he'll share with you a link on how you can get the Feel Great system. Get it from me, get it from him. It doesn't matter. Just get it. Just get
And
people to
that
change
and
your
I
life.
love how you said that because it's very, very important. And then you wonder why we decided to join forces within this partnership that we're currently doing, which
Our
is
mission
why
is basically the same, so it's a no-brainer.
it really is. I mean, which is why, I mean, hey, the HFWB podcast series is from now and going forward is being brought to you by goandfeelgreat.com. I mean, with all these natural products that we've been talking about this whole episode, designed to help restore your metabolic health, combat insulin resistance. We're lowering glucose levels here. We're controlling our cholesterol levels here. We're improving our overall health by just losing weight with little to no dieting and exercise, where although it's okay to do those things as well, with me putting on my holistic personal training hat and being really big on eating your fruits and vegetables to cleanse your system and strengthen your system. At the same time, when you implement all those things on top of the Go and Feel Great system, those cheat days will be much more worthy because you can still eat what you want within the process, because it comes down to a balance, which is why Health, Fitness, Wealth, Business, and Go and Feel Great are now partnering up to where we can continue to heal people from within and provide healthier living through these amazing plant-based products. Is still implementing that holistic approach all in one. So that's why the HFWB podcast series is being brought to you by goandfeelgreat.com. Go visit the site and get your products now. And you heard it from myself. You heard it from Mr. John Hillard from Go and Feel Great himself, one of the franchise owners and one of the magic men behind this. With that being said, John, I just thank you for taking time out of your busy schedule just to simply bless us with an appearance on the HFWB podcast series. I'm sure you'll be back on it as a regular, I'm sure, down the road. But
I'd
overall,
love to.
let's go ahead and just continue to just make people go and feel
Go and
great.
feel great.
We're
Exactly.
on
Exactly.
board with this.
And you know, and I'm glad you said that about the exercising. You know, I strongly endorse dieting and exercising. You know, this system, you do not necessarily need to change your diet, but you'll do so much better. I lost 90 pounds, you know, but it took me a while to do it. You know, I've been on the system, like I said, since April. So about a year and a half, you know, I lost 90 pounds. But if somebody is dieting and exercising, really watching what they eat, staying active, they can do so much better in much less time.
John, you're living proof on what Go and Feel Great is all about, and I appreciate you for encouraging one individual at a time to do the exact same. And we encourage here at the HFWB podcast series, we encourage you to go and feel great as well. With that being said, John, thank you for again taking time out of your busy schedule to bless us with an appearance on the HFWB podcast series. I'm truly honored. And overall, this is yours truly, Clifton Pope, the host of the HFWB podcast series, encouraging y'all to stay healthy, wealthy, and blessed. Till next time, peace, love, and positive vibrations, y'all.